Ed Davey. Sir Ed Davey to us is joining us now. Oh, how disappointing. I didn't know what you were going to be turning up as this morning, and you've just got a coat on.
Hi, Kay. No, some people wanted me to go into the Manchester Ship Canal. I've decided against it. But listen, I'm looking forward to coming to the studio and chatting to you. But thank you for having me on your programme.
Absolutely. You want to talk about social care?
Yeah, please. Liberal Democrats have argued for a long time that if we want to fix our NHS, we have to fix our care system, social care and family carers. As you know, I'm pretty passionate about this, having been a carer much of my life, currently for my disabled son. And when you talk to so many people, I think this affects millions of families. If we can get this right, we can make a big difference. So what we're announcing today is free personal care in England, like they have in Scotland. We're arguing that care workers should get an extra £2 an hour above the minimum wage as a minimum to attract more people into the caring profession. So we have those carers to look after our elderly people and our disabled people.
You're talking about your young lad there, John. I think he's 16 now. What does he think when you're doing all these stunts as part of the election campaign?
Well, my sweetheart son, I'm afraid, isn't quite switched on enough to know quite what I'm doing. He just wants his daddy with him, like most kids do. And yeah, I had a lovely weekend with him. Thank you.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. How are you going to pay for this?
Well, the way we're going to do it is we're going to reverse a tax cut that the Conservatives gave to the big banks. So the big banks, since 2016, have had tax cuts worth about £4.3 billion a year. We think they can afford for those tax cuts to be reversed. They made profits this year of £44 billion. So we know that they can afford it, and that would make a huge difference to millions of families. And the key thing here is the impact on the NHS. At the moment, you've got tens of thousands of people, elderly people particularly, stuck in hospital, unable to get out of hospital. That's terrible for them. It's terrible for their families. They just want to be at home or in a care home. And unless we make some serious changes, that's not going to happen. And you know what's bizarre, Kay, is it's more expensive to keep people in hospital. If we did our social care package, people could come out of hospital, we free up the beds, that would take the pressure off the NHS, and suddenly, rather than this appalling vicious circle we're in the moment, where people are being treated in corridors in A&E, which is frankly dangerous, we get into a virtuous circle where people are coming out of hospital and going to get great quality care, freeing up the bed so people don't have to be treated in corridors. So this is quite a transformational approach because it deals with both care and the NHS.
Under any circumstances, I think you would have to accept that you are not going to be the main party come the next election. But you might be the kingmakers. Which colour of the jib do you like at the moment? Cut of their jib, I should say. That's what I was trying to say.
I'm focusing on the Liberal Democrat jib colour at the moment. We're seeing lots of orange diamond stake boards going across all the seats that we can win, across the blue wall, the south of England, we've talked a lot about, where we've had such great success in parliamentary by-elections, in local elections, and where our candidates are the only ones who can beat the Conservatives. We're doing really well in the West Country, in Somerset, in Devon, in Dorset, in Cornwall. We're really on the march there. And I'm speaking to you from Manchester, and there are 2 seats in Greater Manchester where only the Liberal Democrats can beat the Conservatives, Hazel Grove and Cheadle. And there are a number of places around the country where we're getting such a great response from voters. They know we're the ones best placed under our voting system to beat the Conservatives. And this has never happened before in my political lifetime, Kay, we're seeing a lot of people who've voted Conservative all their lives, literally all their lives, and they're saying they can't do it again. They feel the Conservative Party is out of touch, has taken for granted, has let them down, and they want to switch to another party. And they're increasingly, actually, in these areas I'm talking about, switching to the Liberal Democrats.
OK, I admire your chutzpah, but we know that you're starting from a low base of 8 seats after the boundary changes. 8 seats after the boundary changes. Yeah, I've done my research. Okay. Don't you worry, Sir Ed. Thanks very much indeed for that. But however you look at it, you're not going to be the next leader, are you? So, do you prefer the look of Labour, or are you more aligned to the Conservatives at the moment? Or are you ruling out anybody?
Listen, I'm not going to be distracted by that. What I'm focusing on is defeating Conservative MPs and SNP MPs in Scotland. Actually, we can beat a Labour MP in Sheffield, Hallam. And if we get lots of Liberal Democrat MPs elected, not only will that transform the political debate in Parliament, I think it will show that there is a fair deal on offer for people, but it will mean all those constituencies get a real champion. And what is really interesting is where people have had Liberal Democrat MPs in the past, they've had someone who will really stand up for their community, go to Westminster and challenge the government of the day for their community. And people like that. They want their MP to be a real champion for their area. And I think we'll see a lot of Liberal Democrat local champions in the next Parliament.
Well, they also want their MP to be making real decisions, and to do that, you need to be a member of the government. And your predecessor was the Deputy Prime Minister because he did a deal with Lord Cameron now. Then David Cameron, I'm just saying, are you ruling out doing a deal come the next election? Because you know you're not going to win an overall majority, obviously. I mean, I'm sorry to break it to you. So would you consider doing a deal?
Well, Kate, if you don't mind, I'm going to challenge the assumption behind your question. If you're an MP, you can change the law. Let me give you an example from this Parliament. My Scottish colleague,
better if you're in the government, though.
the MP for North. Well, let me finish on May. She changed the law for carers. She passed a law to allow carers to have a week's leave by right. And, you know, for the message we're giving today about our commitment to carers, that shows that a Liberal Democrat MP, even though they're not in government, can get the law changed. I'm really proud of Wendy and the Scottish Liberal Democrats for achieving that. And I believe if we have lots of Liberal Democrat champions, we can do even more.
You were a minister during the previous, you know, when you had a Deputy Prime Minister who was a Lib Dem, you were a minister during that. If you're in government, you have impacts on defence, on where money is spent, on overseas policy. Of course you want to be a member of the government if you can. I'm asking you, is there a party that you would rule out doing that deal with?
Well, I'm ruled out doing a deal with the Conservatives, and I'm very happy to be clear on that. The Conservative Party is, frankly, ruining our country. They've taken so many people for granted, even their own voters who've stood by them loyally for many times and aren't going to do this time because they've so let down the country. So I can absolutely guarantee UK and your viewers that there is no way we could work with the Conservative Party. Beyond that, all I am focused on is this election campaign. And when I became leader of the Liberal Democrats, I said I'd be the voice of carers. That's our carer package today. And I said my top priority was to beat Conservative MPs. And that's what we're going to focus on.
OK, how do you feel about Nigel Farage?
I don't share any of his views or values. He's got a right to stand. It's a democratic election. But there's a million miles from him and the Liberal Democrats.
OK, good. So we've ruled out two. By the time 4th of July comes, I might have had a few more from you, but let's wait and see. I'll keep trying. God loves a trier. Thank you.
Thank you.